Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Hope everyone's doing well. My name is Kashif Osman, and welcome to Monday, March 23rd, and our latest episode of the I Left My Heart at the Masjid live webcast. Today we have a special episode, and it'll be the first in a series, we hope, of our Mental Mondays or Mental Health Mondays. In these podcasts and these episodes, we'll be exploring topics such as anxiety and depression through this period, how to cope with dealing with our family members on a more in depth and personal basis, as well as perhaps emitting some stress from working from home so much. I hope the series is of benefit to everyone out there, and we'd love to see anyone else's questions on the live chat, or feel free to message us on Instagram, Facebook, anywhere you find Raleigh Masjid, please reach out to us. Now I'm going to kick it over to Imam AbuTaleb to start us off with a small dua and reflection, as well as explaining a bit of who the IR mental health team is.
The community to heal itself and support itself through generosity, not just financially, although that was an important component, but for the emotional and social and otherwise support of the community from itself. When we struggle in our daily lives, there are many struggles that we consider part and parcel of daily life. If we catch a cold or feel well, no one blames someone for going to seek the attention of a medical professional or taking an appropriate over-the-counter medication. But sometimes we have unhealthy stigmas in our cultures, in our thoughts, perhaps even sometimes falsely attributed to the religion, that we feel like part of these struggles are not our social struggles, our relationship struggles, the tensions within our home and in our friendships and in our closest relationships, the struggles of raising a righteous family, the gaps that sometimes emerge between parents and children, or between relatives or friends, or at the workplace, and the part of tests that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has apportioned for his servants, including those tests in our mental health, which are a part of our struggle and our striving to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Prophet ﷺ has many specific stories. It would take too long to share them now, but in fact we've talked about them at the IR previously. You can see a number of our past sermons posted here at our YouTube channel. Among them, the Prophet ﷺ's attention to those with special needs and specific incidents that arise. And the Prophet ﷺ utilization himself, though he is the best of creation, of what we would come to call counseling or support or advice by those that are of position to do so. These examples are examples that we have to revive in our lives, not only in these times of crisis, but indeed in our daily lives, because they are part of the guidance that our religion gives us. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Ask the experts if you do not know. The expertise here is not limited to just knowledge of the sacred sciences or of the religious sciences, but it is bringing back all beneficial knowledge to those of expertise and training within it. We have our own story with this at IAR. Although this community has been tested in many ways, has been tested with loss, has been tested with hardship, and truly, as someone who came with his family to join this community, one of the factors that I was very humbled by was how people really come together to support one another. To come to a janazah at IR and the loss of a loved one, and to see people of every color, every space, every age coming together to grieve as one, to see the way people mobilize in support of one another. As someone that traveled across the United States extensively, this is something that my family and I were drawn towards. But we had room to grow. Although we had many individuals doing amazing things, we had room to grow institutionally. When I came to this community, still the sole provider of all counseling and support services for a community that was now 10,500 people strong at Salatul Eid was the Imam as one individual person. And it was from my first frank but difficult conversations that I shared with the very first leaders at IAR that I felt that this model was insufficient to meet the new needs, and that while I could, inshallah, embrace the support and stewardship of this responsibility, that I felt certainly I, and in my humble opinion, any individual could not accurately and appropriately meet the broad needs of this community. To the credit of our leadership, they were receptive to this message. And just over 4 years ago, we turned to the blessed Minbar of the Islamic Association of Raleigh and put out a call with the Imam's initiative on behavioral and mental health. Some of you that have joined the community may not recognize, that have joined it since may not, be aware of this story. So I wanted to share it with you because we knew there was a problem. We didn't know where the answer was. And while the religious footing was there was a lot of technical work and hard work needed to get to where we are today. From there came a team of volunteers. Alhamdulillah, Dr. Shahida Maroof was on that original founding team, as she was also on the IR Shura at the time. And we've been incredibly blessed with a number of incredible people, among them Sister Amal, who's joining us today, as well as the efforts that I want to acknowledge with the co-chairs, Sister Azlina Azhar and Sister Arshia Siddiqui, area leaders such as Imam Salahuddin Muhammad from As-Salam Islamic Center. And I would go through the entire list because I have a story with each and every one of them. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows those that have contributed and those that continue to contribute. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward them. On the IR Health team, which would become the current IR Wellness team, was almost a year of hard work, of research, consultation with lawyers, to looking at best practices across the country. We consulted with the Khalil Center, consulted with the Islamic Society of Boston Cultural Center, did a lot of research on best practices, and compiled a binder this big and meeting notes that I still have. Why? Because it's hard work to say that religiously we don't want to turn away anyone for economic reasons, and to build the actual capacity to be able to do so in reality. It's hard work to be able to receive people that may have different statuses and different needs with regards to their insurance or not having insurance at all. And it's hard work to make sure that our center is in compliance with appropriate legal framework and other work. This was the work that spanned almost a year, work that spanned many discussions, including many presentations to the IAR Shura, which alhamdulillah, though this was a new model, a model that had not been implemented at this scale by many centers at the time, did formally adopt it at the policy level for the Islamic Association of Raleigh, first on a pilot basis, and now, alhamdulillah, as a permanent fixture of our blessed center. I wanted to pull back the curtains and share with this a bit of you with you behind the scenes, because often people see the end product and don't see all the hard work that went into making it a reality, asking Allah Ta'ala for sincerity and for tawfiq. From this, alhamdulillah, we have enjoyed many blessings, including the continual presence of this team and our various services such as the IR counseling referral services, as well as the valuable guidance of the team members and the team overall in moments of ease and moments of crisis. And this crisis is no different. That alhamdulillah, we were able to turn to an existing team, benefit alhamdulillah from the experts joining us tonight and inshallah nights to come. But many people that were part of this, many continue, but some are not part of our community or have moved on to other parts of the country. But what's beautiful is that the legacy of their good deeds remains behind them, inshallah, a source of good deeds tonight, even as they are somewhere else in the world or across the country. And I hope this is very motivating for everyone, especially young people with us tonight, that you don't know what sincere deed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala could elevate and make a source of continuous charity for you, inshallah. This work has since been recognized, alhamdulillah, in the religious news service, in various media outlets, and pray that it is an accomplishment that is accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with full sincerity as a sadaqah jariyah and a continuous charity for all those that supported, that made dua and invested this hard work and effort. Ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept it, inshallah, and I'll turn it back over to you, Brother Kashif, and our esteemed experts for tonight.
Thank you so much. Jazakallah. All right. So Shamal, are you?
Yeah, go ahead, Dr. Maruf.
Yeah, am I ready to start? All right. Assalamu alaikum, rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I was informed yesterday about giving some talk or discussing about the current crisis which we are going through. I did not have time to prepare for this, but I don't think I needed to prepare for it because everybody is in the same boat. This is the first time we are going through such a crisis of isolation and social distancing and living in small spaces with limited resources. But inshallah, with the help of Allah Ta'ala, this time will pass too. And let's ask Allah for help and do istighfar so we can get over this time with peace and comfort. And we hopefully, inshallah, come out from this crisis as better Muslims and a better ummah, because Allah does not give us more than what we can handle. And if this is what Allah has put us through, He will get us through this. And but we have to do things which we need to do as human beings. And as Muslims, we also have to obey the law of the land. When the governor and the head of the state and the country is requesting that we should take precautions, it is important that we follow that and implement that in our life, because this is not a medical crisis, this is a public health crisis. So very important issue in this situation is that prevention is better than treatment, because we don't even know how to treat this virus. It is a new virus, it's a very virulent, strong virus. So we don't know what to do with it. So best thing is to make sure that we don't expose ourselves to the situation. And that is why we have been recommended to stay at home and avoid contact with outside sources, especially for elderly people over the age of 65. I might come in that range, and then some other people who are immunocompromised and are having other medical issues. So they have to pay more attention to that and avoid contact with outside visitors and gatherings. And the important thing, I was very impressed, is how good the the Fiqh Council decided to hold off the regular prayers and even Juma Salah. Some people were not happy about it, but we have the example of a prophet where he encouraged the quarantine, that you don't go to a place where there is an epidemic and you don't leave the place where the epidemic is. So if we know that the infection is coming and we don't know how it is spreading, we don't know much about it, the best thing is the prevention, and prevention is isolation and staying at home. Saying that, it is not that easy also, because as American culture is all about being in a rush. Always there is something to do. They are never caught up during the day. And if you find time to just stop and do your salah, that is good enough, alhamdulillah. But this is giving us time to kind of move back and stay at home, and we are not used to that. And my secretary was saying that probably there is more incidents of marital conflicts because of the spouses staying together. They are not used to that. Is there going to be more, nauzubillah, incidents of breakups and all that? But inshallah, it will not, because this is also a blessing that we have time to spend together at home, and don't have to take it as a punishment from Allah Ta'ala. It could also be a blessing. So as we are at home, we can make our own space, make sure that we keep a routine and consistency and structure in our life, especially the kids are not going to school. So we encourage that they get up in the morning, get ready, and plan activities during the day as if they are in school. You cannot be that rigid about exactly how it is at school, but as much as you can. Also, it is also time to have meals together. With the busy schedule, that is all left behind. What we did at home, having family meals together, that has been left behind. But this is time to bring that back in our routine. And and the other things I was thinking in this isolation, many things which we can learn is, I was reading an article about resources. And before they go to the space, they are also put in similar situations while they are on Earth, so they can get used to it. And what I was reading is, one of the important things is they are kept busy. So when they are even in the simulation phase, they are kept so busy that they are given instructions to keep on doing one thing after another. And that we can use in our own life, is instead of sitting idle and not doing anything and being bored and being irritable and cranky and snappy at our family and kids, if you can make some routine, take out things you do which you could not do because we were busy, either reading or writing or artwork or crafts or drawing. And um, and the thing is, it is an isolation, but we are really not in isolation, because what isolation 150 years ago is different from what it is now, because we are still in contact with the society, with the community, because of the internet and FaceTime. And it is a blessing that we can do that with our parents and grandparents, and kids and grandkids. You keep in touch with them. This is also a time to teach your children to take out time to find out how the other person is doing, how your family members are doing, how your neighbors are doing. And in order to keep busy, not only the study schedule is important to do their homework and schoolwork and all that, but also take out time for volunteer, like even calling a neighbor and finding out if they need anything. And for young adults who are healthy and active, if they want to volunteer and send out a note for the to the neighborhood for the elderly neighbors, that you can go out and do some shopping or help them in whatever way. Is that not the best way of showing what Islam is? And this is the time when you can really influence anybody, because people are all desperate, people are getting frustrated. And the thing is, we don't have to feel. The worst thing as a human being we can feel is being helpless and trapped. That is the source of depression and anxiety. As a Muslim, we are never helpless, we are never trapped, because no matter what, Allah is always there. We are in this situation because Allah wanted us to be here, and He's our protector, He's the caregiver, and He will take care of us, and we will get out of the situation. So we don't have to feel helpless and trapped, because this is a situation which the whole world is going through. And again, that is also a support, that you're not an individual who are being isolated because of some illness or anything. It is the whole community, the whole world is going through that. So that is also a sense of comfort for us. And important thing is keeping ourselves busy, doing projects, and also picking up good things to do. Yes, you can spend time watching TV, Netflix, movies, and all that, but also time when, if you did not have time to do the seerahs or read Quran or memorize some surahs, uh, and you can also make it as a division between the whole family members with your kids, about each person taking responsibility of doing something good, memorizing something good, or taking a good project and completing that task. And the other thing people were worried is, we are so worried about our livelihood that we feel that we are running out of money and running out of food, and we are rushing to the store and buying things and hoarding things. Allah doesn't like people to hoard, because He's the provider. Yes, we have to determine what we are in need of, and so we can go out and buy stuff as much as you need. Don't have to just for this week and probably next week. You don't have to hoard so much that everything is going to go stale and expired and nobody is able to use it. So we have to put a limit to that and not be greedy about it. And as far as feeling helpless that you do not know how long it is going to go, we don't know. Nobody knows how long it is going to go. Probably they are saying that the kids might not go back to school. The colleges might not reopen. So let's not look into a long term, that is it going to be 6 months, 3 months, we don't know. Let's kind of take it as a 2 week at a time period. So what we can do in this 2 weeks, let's focus on that. And then at the end of 2 weeks, we'll know where we are standing. So we'll plan for the next week. And it is, some people can handle stress and changes well, but some it is very hard for them to handle, especially people with underlying anxiety disorders. They like to, especially if you're OCD and a very particular, rigid kind of personality, they want things exactly how they want it to be, and the routine has to be changed. And even kids with the autism, the routine is very important. Whether it is good or bad, any changes, the end of the school, they all act up. The beginning of the school, they act up. So any changes are hard for them. And in situations like this, try to keep it as consistent as possible, keep it as much structure as you can. And the other thing I want to emphasize to the parents is, kids learn from the parents, especially anxiety is such a learned behavior. If the mother is stressed and anxious and irritable and panicky, kids are going to pick up on that. If the mother is afraid and has phobias, supposing the mother has a phobia of storms, the kid sees that, and kid is going to develop phobia of storms sooner or later. So how a parent handles the situation, it is very important. So sit down with your family, sit down with your kids and talk about the situation and keep them informed about what is going on with the current situation, the virus, and what we can do and what we cannot do about it, and the importance of isolation. And that doesn't mean that they're not going to be with their friends anymore. They can always contact their friends online, talk to them, and discuss, exchange pictures, exchange movies, to keep this as a pleasant time and not get frustrated or angry. And for the children to react better, it is important that parents also handle this better, and also recite du'as and read the meanings of so many du'as you have, and read the hadiths. You know, the hadith of Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, when the caravan went to Syria, and how people wanted to return from there, and it was at the time of Hazrat Umar. I don't know too much details, but how it was encouraged not to leave that place because there was some epidemic or some infection going on. So Prophet ﷺ encouraged us all this. It is already there in our Islamic books and hadiths, how to handle situations like this. It was not the same virus, but they had other infections, plagues, and when I was growing up, we had cholera and typhoid and all that. People used to die right and left. Then they came out with treatment, what medications you can take to treat and cure it, and then they came out with the vaccination. So it all takes time, and that is why we have the scientists and the researchers who are working on it. It will take time, but everything is by the will of Allah Ta'ala. And so we have to be patient, and we have to be tolerate this with patience and prayer. Uh, Use the good coping skills. People who are anxious are nervous, always thinking about the worst possible scenario. They catastrophize everything, minimize the positive and exaggerate the negatives, and so the kids are going to pick up on that. So try to move back and think and say that this is not the end of the world. This is how things are. This is something which we did not expect. It is surprising. It is very. It is a worrisome situation, but something which we don't want to feel helpless about it. We want to do what we can, and then leave the rest in the hands of the physicians, the scientists who are taking care of it. And of course, at the end, it is always in Allah's hands. Without his wish, nobody can be hurt. Without his wish, nobody can be protected. But our job is to do what we can do and leave the rest in Allah's hands. And important thing is just to keep ourselves busy and make your home a comfortable place, because we are used to going out, going to the shopping centers and all that. No, that is also too much. It is not buying excess, but buying anything more than what you need is a waste. And we have made our houses cluttered so much that it is very uncomfortable to stay in our houses. So it is time to clean up. It time to each person clean your own space, clean your own rooms. And for the children, for the adults, if you get too stressed out, interacting, being with each other all the time, have your space where you can go and relax and do some reading or whatever you enjoy doing. So you have your own privacy, because people are not used in this country to be together all the time. So, but we can make this as a pleasant experience and make the best use of it. It is memorable time. We will remember this for the rest of our lives, but inshallah we'll come out stronger than what we went in at this time, with the help of Allah Ta'ala and with our faith and support of our family and friends. And let's look forward for better days. Inshallah, they will come too. And it is also time to reflect on our inner self and see what have you achieved in this life. What is that you were after? What is that you're lacking in this life? Some people might have many years. Some people might not have much time left. Like, I don't know. For me, I don't know how much time is left. So it's better I move back and think about it. What is the best way I can use my time to benefit myself, to benefit others, to benefit my family, in all aspects. And we can do that only if we if we also seek the help of Allah, be in the company of good people, follow the principles of Islam, and try to be good human beings, good Muslims, and that will help us in the long way. And let children call and check on family and friends. Let the young adults be volunteer in your community to help out with the shopping or grocery or whatever help the elders need in your community, in your neighborhood. And as far as depression and anxiety, it is very early for anybody to get into a depressed phase so soon. At the most, for the first 2-3 weeks, with the stressors going on, it is more like an adjustment to us. We are coping with anxiety and some irritability, some frustration. But with better coping skills, will resolve these issues. But if for some people who have a predisposition for anxiety, there might be a little bit more signs of feeling stressed out, overwhelmed, panicky, and it might appear in the form of physical symptoms, headaches, stomach aches, upset stomach, and all those things. Just keep it in mind. Talk to your community, your family doctor, to your physician assistant or your nurse to just know what is going on. And for people with history of depression, and make sure that everybody who's prescribed medications, keep on taking your medications. And if you feel things are getting worse, contact your doctor so it can be addressed the proper way. But it is too early to say that, oh, we are depressed because of this. We are going through adjustment. It can be showing in the form of some mood issues, some anxiety issues, some irritability issues, and in the children in the form of hyperactivity, impulsivity, and all that. So try to use some good parenting skills and with behavior modifications. And if they are not behaving, plan out the structure and activities to be done during the day. Be a little bit easy with that. Don't be too rigid. But again, if things are getting out of control, take away the privileges the kids are having so they can learn from that. And also don't forget to reinforce the positive behavior, because you also let them know that this is good things. So this is a time for the family to be together. In fact, I think it is a blessing that Allah has given us. Make the best use of it. Let us pray, do istighfar, and come out of it as much stronger community, inshallah, than before. Kashif, any questions?
Jazakallah khair, Doctor.
What's that? What did you say? I see. All right. Okay.
Announce who Dr. Shaida Maroof is. She's a psychiatrist based in the Raleigh area, as well as a mental health professional on our IAR health team, and previously served as a member of the IAR Shura. Next up, we have Sister Amal Esadir, who works as part of the mental health team as well. She is a certified life coach and co-taught the self-care classroom, as well as the Hope Sisters Collective, both wonderful initiatives within the area. Now I'm going to turn it over to Sister Amal, and inshallah we will hear some of her thoughts.
Jazakallah khair, Dr. Maroof, for what you have shared with us, and Jazakallah khair, Brother Kashif, for having me here, and Imam AbuTaleb. So assalamu alaikum, everyone, and it's really a pleasure to be with you here today. And so what Dr. Maroof has spoke to really has to do with keeping everyone together and keeping that bond inside the house stronger. And one way of doing that also, in addition to working together and collectively, the basics of that starts with you as a person. And with you as a person, as in your self-care, you got to take care of who you be as an individual, not just how you look or your health on the outside, but there are other components that actually would help you become more grounded and as a stronger Muslim and as a stronger human being as a whole once you go deeper into who you be as a person. And part of that, what we have been doing with the IAR health team, as we were doing with the Hope Sisters group as well, the sessions that we have done on the self-care and self-compassion. On the self-care, there are multiple aspects to it. Many people think of self-care as in just taking care of your health and exercising and just doing those kind of things. That's just one component of it. So there are about 6 components that go into in the self-care. You have the physical, you have the psychological, there is the emotional, there is the personal, there is the spiritual, and there is the professional. So there are that all comprises the whole entire, your well-being. This is how you can live more of a balanced life. You can't just focus on one aspect and be able to neglect the other. In the previously to coronavirus, what we have been focusing on was the professional aspects of our lives. We've all been busy, working, running from one thing to the other. It's a checklist. Let's get going from one point to the other. We have meetings, we have calls, we have clients, we have to, we have our managers we need to respond to, and then our family would be the last thing that we would be looking into, because, well, they're just on they can understand, they can tolerate the pressure that comes from that. And now it's time for us to, this is a blessing that we are able to actually be with our families, and not just only focus on the professional aspects of things, but also be able to look into, what else is possible around here. So one of the things I'd like to discuss with you today is how you are able to go from, just be able to create some inner space for yourself. So you would be able to create that outer space that you could share with others around you. If you can think of yourself, your body as, it's filled with all these different organs that we have. And at the same time, when we have everything that's compiling on us, we end up having to get busier as we think in terms of, well, I have to take care of this, I have to take care of that, I have to take care of that. And then somebody else tells you something, and then that occupies your brain. And so you have all these thoughts that we end up thinking about, and they just, stay in your head. And that creates clog. It just clogs up your head, it clogs up your brain, and you're not able to fully, comprehend, and be able to function as you need to. And so one thing that would be helpful is for you to just be able to create that inner space that you need. Because once you create that, you're able to relate to people differently. And as far as the relationships are concerned, just if you think of the term relationship, it's a ship and it's relatable. Everything in this world is how you relate to it. It's how you relate to yourself, how you relate to Allah, how you relate to your work, how you relate to the technology that you have, how you relate to your kids, to your family. Everything, or it's all about your relationship with that. And from the term relationship, the ship component of it is, as you could know from ships, if they are shipping in the ocean, how long can a ship be functioning without you having to do any maintenance on it? And how frequently do you need to do the maintenance? And what kind of condition do you need to be in for you to do maintenance on that ship? And so it all goes back to you and you taking care of yourself, not from a selfish perspective, but from a perspective where you love for others what you love for yourself. And so you need to love you before you can love others. If you are able to love yourself in such a capacity, then you're able to give back to others in the same way. And part of being at home, for those who are not used to being at home, that's another way of looking at those relationships between, well, what is the space that I am in right now? I used to go to a space where I have other people who are thinking like me, who are more adults. I don't have to scream at the kids, or if you have any pets or whatever that you may have, you're just at work, everybody's doing the same thing, thinking the same thing, they have the same goals and looking at the same thing, and now you're just surrounded by other people who are not necessarily aligned with what you're doing for work, but they are aligned with what you do in life. That's why you go do the extra hard work outside, so you could come back and be able to provide for them. You are able to do that for them. And that's part of, having to work on those relationships. One of the techniques that helps in terms of, reconnecting to yourself and going deeper is to breathe. Be able to learn how to breathe correctly. breathing is something that is involuntary. We constantly are breathing, not realizing that we are breathing because we don't think about it. This is just involuntary thing. It just happens. You breathe, exhale, and inhale. But if you just, take a quiet moment and give yourself a deep breath and let it out slowly, you'll see how the rest of your body will start to function, will become a bit slower. And the more you're able to, breathe in and out slowly, you'll able to also control, your heartbeats. You can slow that down. And the slower you are, the less anxious you can be. That can help you with your anxiety as well. And the better, the slower you can slow your metabolism and your breathing rather, sorry, then you're able to also de-stress. You don't have to be as stressed as you have been. Even your anger, you don't get as angry if you just are able to take up some few techniques on, deep breathing in and let it out, in and let it out. That helps you in terms of, regulating how you can respond to whatever may be happening around you. The other thing that Dr. Shahra Maroof was mentioning earlier is that we have no control over what happens. We have no control over whatever is happening to us. So, in other words, life is going through us. We're not going after this or that. And whatever Allah is bringing to us, we need to find a way to handle that. We need to find a way to respond to it. We need to find a way to be able to stand up or ask for help. And so with that, that's part of where your spirituality and your relationship with Allah becomes, where you are grateful for what He brings you, because that's all part of the test. That's all part of how He is testing us as His, creatures. And we are just going to have to learn how to let it go. And that's also part of the breathing and slowing down and learning not to be attached to any specific outcome. Because if we are so attached to the fact that, oh, well, I have got to make that trip, but there is nobody going on any trips these days, but I have got to go make that trip because I have, well, no, you don't understand. You cannot go on that trip, period. And so, well, you're going to miss out on your money, you're going to miss out on your clients, you're going to miss out on your projects, you're going to miss out on your business. What control do you have over that? None. You have no control over that. Because if Allah has sent us this virus, then how can you stand alone against it and go against all the odds just so you can get your money and get your clients and get your projects? You can't. And so that's part of learning how to let go and not be attached. And just be grateful to the fact that Allah has given us this so we can focus on ourselves, focus on the fact that we are going to get closer to Allah. That is a blessing. When Allah sends us a hardship that gets us closer to Him, that's a blessing. If He sends us a hardship that gets us away from Him, then that's definitely a punishment. But as long as we are getting closer and closer to Allah, then that's a blessing. And that's how we work on our relationship with Allah. The other thing is the relationship with how you deal with your spouse or how you deal with your kids. They are your partners. Now, these are your new co-workers. This is your home, is your new working space. Your spouse and your kids, and some people may have pets. These are all now your new co-workers. So you need to find a way with figuring out, how do you relate to them? How can they support you? How can you support them? I have clients, I do coaching for people in corporate, and I have clients who actually, were telling me they have to take schedule. It's like the mom and the dad, they have certain, hours that they need to be on the phone, and the space is and it's not as large. So they're taking turns, they're trying to coordinate their schedules, where if one of them has a call at this time, the other one will be free so they can take care of the kids and keep them quiet. So that's one way of managing your time and managing your space and managing your new co-workers, figuring out, a schedule that works for everybody so everybody can get what they want and still be able to, maintain that. So these are some things that you can do. And as far as the space that you are in, you can definitely decorate that and be able to make it look like it's some sort of a, office looking thing. I mean, I am actually sitting in one of the extra bedrooms that we have, but I have some bulletin board behind me, so I make it look like it's an office. So you just make do with whatever you have. So these are some things that go back to your self-care, back to who you be as a person and what your intent is and how you respond to different adversities as they come to you. So I'll stop right there and see if you have any questions, and just take it from there.
Jazakallah khair, sister. Let me open it up to the floor for questions and see if anyone has anything. Anyone on YouTube has any questions for any one of our guests? Doesn't look like we have anything on YouTube from any of our guests. Let me check. Maybe Instagram. We have some guests over there. Let me pull that up. Some questions over there. I don't see any questions. Would any of our guests like to talk about anything else? All our guests are currently muted.
I always have questions, so I've been getting this question all week, alhamdulillah, about adjusting to this new reality. And alhamdulillah, a lot of the advice that I've heard shared today has been very helpful. Jazakumullah khairan. We're all just struggling to not only cope, but adjust, build new habits, inshallah, that are appropriate for this new reality. I guess the question I have is, a lot of people right now feel very overwhelmed by video content. I suppose on one hand, it's a great blessing. You can imagine if we couldn't even connect by phone or video in these situations, would be worse. So I'm thankful for that blessing. But sometimes it can be a little bit overwhelming. It's like the choices between a barrage of Islamic lectures or binge watching Netflix or TV, and then what do you do? So, how would you advise in balancing that personal time versus family time? What are other ways we can engage in the home with the family? What types of activities? I did hear you mentioning some suggestions like sharing meals. I wonder what else you could suggest, both inshallah, or either like to comment on sharing those types of activities with our family.
Sister Shida, you are currently muted. Dr. Shida Maroof? Sorry. Technology it's a new and challenging thing for all of us. Just yesterday I was watching Anderson Cooper deliver a newscast from his living room. I think he had some troubles connecting as well.
The microphone on. Can you hear me?
There we go. Now we got Sister Shida in the call. Dr. Shida in the call.
Yeah. Try to. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
I see. Yeah. I don't know much about that, but the thing is, try to avoid too much TV and even watching the news. other things like I'm thinking about what my daughter and son-in-law is doing is for Friday prayer, they could not go to the mosque, so they are giving assignment for children. One is making announcements, the other one is preparing for the khutbah, giving the khutbah and leading prayer. So make it interesting instead of monotonous or boring, and not too much time on the TV. And even the kids are now obsessed with video games, so introduce other activities which is more fun and games. So when my grandchild was told to make the announcement, he said there is a Mercedes illegally parked in the wrong place at the mosque. So it's a funny joke for the little kids. Make it a pleasant time of doing things together, even involving games, going out for walks, and physical activity. I mean, you cannot go to the gym at this point, but do family time together, outside activities, uh, and even reading together and learning. Mm, This is a time to kind of bonding with each other and spending time. I don't know if anything else, Amal, you have to offer.
Yes, and I love what you suggested there, Jazakallah khair. And I would also, what I would add to that also is maybe having little projects around the house that, the kids can help you out with, things that you've been wanting to do for some time but haven't had that chance to. Maybe this is an opportunity to create that space and time and get them to help out with that. There's also, as one of the sisters who was on, we were having the Hope Sisters group the other day session, and she actually was making some beads, some necklaces. And what she has done, she's got her family to help out, and she decided that she's going to sell them, and half of the profit is going to go to as charity. So that's one other project that you can, benefit yourself and the community as well. You get everybody involved in doing that. Another thing, like my husband and I went on a walk around the neighborhood the other day. So, I mean, just something simple to go out. And while we're not supposed to go out, but as much as we're still able to go out, go step outside and just, breathe the fresh air to the extent as you can, because but being out in nature also helps you calm, helps you, de-stress, and your cortisol goes down. And so things like that would help out. And as far as, less TV for sure. Let's see what else can be done there. Story time. Maybe it's story time about, what might, when you were little kids, what was happening when we as a parents, when we were little kids, how our parents, did with adversity. So just sharing stories with each other just to keep it going. So yeah, that's what I have.
And try to avoid complaining and being negative in front of the children, because they pick up on that. This is a time to teach them how to cope with stressors and things which are unpredictable, which are not under our control. So how the children imitate the parents. So how the parents act, the children are going to react in the same way.
That's right.
Those are some wonderful strategies. I think that actually covers a lot of the questions we've been asked. Brother Fayaz from yesterday has some wonderful questions again today. How do we treat the anxiety that comes from watching video or news? Similar question was asked by Amboy00 on YouTube about how much news we should watch every day to stay up to date with developments without it affecting your mental health. And I think our wonderful guest explained trying to limit it as much as possible, but still getting just enough to get the coverage we need. Not binge watching the news, if you will. Did I capture that right, or would you suggest anything else?
That is so true, because at the time of 9/11, people were constantly watching TV, and there was such high incidence of anxiety and kids coming with nightmares and all that. Because if the parents are watching TVs, kids are also sitting and watching the TV. So all you're doing is focusing on the negatives and repeating the same thing. So when they're going to bed, it is the same images which is going through their head, and they have difficulty falling asleep. They have nightmares, and they're next day more irritable and snappy. So limit the time, select a channel, reliable channel, and as long as you get the information, then turn it off. Don't have to just keep on, because all channels are talking about the same thing one after another. So don't have to go through each channel and get all the possible information. Select a channel, get the important information for the day, and just limit the time you spend on the TV, because we were seeing a lot of anxiety disorders at the time of 9/11. And mostly it was, and especially for people with PTSD who have been exposed to trauma in the past, situations like this can increase the anxiety. So we have to reduce any triggers for the anxiety, which could be news and watching all TV and watching the death rates and all that.
Thank you so much. That is an excellent answer to that question. We received another question from Brother Firdaus Patan about how we can help our children during this tough and delicate times. Are there any specific strategies that we can use to help them cope with the anxiety of maybe not seeing their friends, their classmates, being out of their usual circumstances and being home for that 8 hours a day they're usually at school?
Yeah. I think an important thing is the communication. Make sure that you talk to them, talk at their level, that they understand what is going on, and you be in control and be calm as much as you can. So don't be panicky in front of the kids. They will pick up on that. And then keep consistency and structure during the daytime. That keeps the environment under control. And let the kids do things. Keep a routine in the morning. Let everybody gets up and get ready as if they're going to work, as if they're going to school, instead of spending the whole day in their pajamas and all that. So that brings some, you feel good about it, and also that everybody is there ready, and now they have time for studies, take breaks, have meals together. And don't make it a boring time. Also let them play video games, put a time limit to that, and other activities, some reading time together with the family. And let them also socialize with their, talk to the friends on the phone or FaceTime, but everything in moderation should be helpful for the family.
Yes, and I would like to add on that is maybe make it like a little game, like a pen pals. Well, where they write letters to their friends or something that they can give them at a later time. Journaling actually and writing is one of the psychological self-care components. It helps. It can be therapeutic when you write and you just express your emotions, and you have to let them out and not bottle those in, because that can also lead to stress and anxiety if you're just not able to process those emotions. You have to find a way of getting that out. If you're not able to verbally say it, then having to write them out can be one form of doing that.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. That's a very good coping strategy, is writing down what your fears and worries are, what you can do about it. So it's not like you're obsessing over negative things. So putting your thoughts down on paper is very helpful too.
Those are some excellent strategies. I think I'll start writing down a journal and see how far it takes me. Hopefully no one comes in and tries to read it.
Yeah.
Another question we've received from YouTube, and actually we're coming up onto almost the end of our hour. If our YouTube viewers would be okay with us going for another, say, 10 minutes, is that okay with our guests?
Yes.
Write yes in the YouTube chat. Just let us know you're watching us there, and we'll go another 10 more minutes. So we received a question from Brother Adam Jinrola, helps us out with the Dawah team a lot. What is the best approach to address the concerns of a person who is a Muslim, has lost his job, and is sad and feeling down?
We saw that with the IBM and other crisis situations, people were losing jobs. In my office, I have a rug with the names of Allah Ta'ala, and I used to say, sometimes they come and ask me, what does it mean? And at the time of this crisis where they have lost the job, I used to refer to them and refer to the rug and say that the Razak, that is one of the qualities of Allah Ta'ala, that He is the provider. So we have to, it is hard for anybody and any one of us, which I think all of us are going through that concerns about the financial situation, but you do what you can, try to apply for other jobs, use other strategies how you can resolve this issue. But at the end of the day, we don't have to feel helpless and feel trapped and pity ourselves and be upset about it. Look into the next step. What is the next thing you can do? And always have trust in God. Because if He has closed one door, there are many other ways you can find your livelihood. And you believe in God, but you do what you can on your part. Job search and preparing your resume, whatever the recommendation is, you have to do your part and then put your trust in God.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that for sure. I mean, the very first reaction when you asked that question was for me to say inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, because that's all that you could do. It's this is a hardship that just came to me, and then now I lost my job and I don't have that income, and then just to rakat for Allah, just to say alhamdulillah, to be grateful for Allah has done this to me, because He's taking away certain that's worse from my path, because He's putting me towards something that is better. And so that's something that as a Muslim we believe in, because Allah is not going to put you on a pathway that is going to be bad for you. Allah has, certain reasons. Everything happens for a reason, and you may not know what the reason is, but there is always a reason for it. And so, for as long as you believe in that, and you believe that Allah is always going to put the right things in your way, then that should not, be something that you would, be upset over.
An anxious mind is always worried about the what if this happens, what if that happens, and you're always catastrophizing. So kind of move back and think about it. It is not the end of the world. People, did it just happen to you? Does it happen to people? Can something be done about it? So it is not the end of the world. It is if you lose a job. So there are things which you can resolve this issue. So you have to look onto the other side and out of the box instead of being in the negative state of mind. It is hard initially, but again, with the support of your family and friends, and with prayer and patience, and inshallah, good coping skills, you will get through it.
Alhamdulillah, those are some great suggestions and some great tactics. Imam AbuTaleb, anything Islamic comes to mind? Is there perhaps one single word that encapsulates tying your camel and then putting your faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
Alhamdulillah, I think what was shared was more than sufficient. I just would suggest, inshallah, that always when we are coming to support a person that's going through this, a position of empathy, sometimes in trying to help, we can try to explain it away or say, that it's and essentially exceed our boundaries by trying to suggest to that person what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's wisdom is, or why they shouldn't be sad or upset about it because it could be worse. I want to distinguish that from the, mashallah, much more complete advice that was just given, just to remind our listeners that it's very natural and expected that, this causes grief. This can cause sadness. It's very appropriate to say inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, because it is an incident, and it's okay for that incident to affect us. But then when we turn to our deen gives us perspective. It gives us very healthy ways to move from those emotions, and those emotions are very acceptable, are not bad in and of themselves. But dwelling on them or going to a negative place is what we are trying to avoid ourselves and help others with. And so moving from there to a place of a positive outlook on life, of a trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that is encapsulated by both. The best example of this was the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He would take means so fully that people would almost feel like, he's working harder than anybody else, meaning he's filling out that job application. He's not just on LinkedIn or at Indeed or here or there or at that bulletin board, everywhere, if you will, in this example. But also the Prophet ﷺ had the fullest trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, meaning that even after all those efforts, he would not trust in those efforts, or if those efforts were not fruitful, he would have an enduring trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that then another path would come, even if he didn't know where it was, that would be better for him. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Al-Quran Al-Kareem, ومن يتق الله يجعل له مخرجا ويرزقه من حيث لا يحتسب ومن يتوكل على الله فهو حسبه إن الله بالغ أمره إلى آخر الآية. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says what means that whomever is conscious and has taqwa of Allah, Allah will make for him or her a way out and provide for him or her from a place that they did not even expect. And whomever trusts Allah, then Allah will be sufficient and is sufficient for him. Indeed, Allah is able to fulfill and discharge his affair, and Allah has appointed for everything due measure. And so we make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that for this person and for all afflicted with hardship in this time, that Allah Azza wa Jal grant them a way out and grant us all a way out from this hardship, and inshallah make it a source of nearness to him.
Yeah, I just want to comment that it is very important at time of crisis. You don't want to rationalize and their feelings, but you want to be supportive and be empathic and understand that they are going through, and later on gradually you move to the next step, because you do want to make what they are going through, the loss and the stress of losing, of being in that situation. So that is important initial when you're having losses and stress like that.
Jazakallah khair. Those are some wonderful suggestions we've heard from our beloved guests today. As far as helping a person that has become down their luck and is feeling sad and alone, especially during this time of the year. Next up, we have two more questions. One from Sister Sadia. Can you elaborate on how to create a personal space if you are the only parent? How can one create that personal space at home if they are the only parent and the only caretaker of their children? Or perhaps the other way around, if it is one younger person taking care of two older parents. How can they do that?
Sister, you answer that.
Yeah, I mean that is definitely not an easy place to be in. That is definitely a space where you can go into so many negative emotions. You can go through into loneliness because you can feel like, well, I'm all alone and nobody's helping me out, and I can't get this and I can't get that. And the one thing that I would offer here is that to have some self-compassion. And self-compassion is, along the lines of empathy, and it's being kind to yourself and treat yourself like a human. How would you treat your friend? Treat yourself like you would treat a very close friend to you. Just be nice to yourself, be kind, and that's just part of humanity. Nobody's perfect. And when you need help, just raise your hand up and just say, hey, I need help. I need somebody to support me here. I can't deal with this. I can't deal with that. And not be afraid or ashamed that you're asking for help, because that's what this community is all about. This is why we have this support system. This is why we have all these resources. I mean, the community is trying to get all these, the health team is there because we need these resources for the community, so the community would know that those exist and they are not alone, and having any issue from that perspective is not shameful. There is nothing shameful to be about to say, well, I'm a single parent and I can't take care of my kids, or I cannot create this space for myself. And as far as creating space for yourself, it starts with you really internally creating space inside of you. And so you really need to focus on how you are able to breathe in and breathe out. Just control your breathing. Your breathing is really essential in terms of how you be as a person. And then from there, what you can do is, once you have a little more control over yourself, and that is the one and only thing that you have control over. You have control over yourself, your behavior, your actions. You have no control, none whatsoever. How others behave, whatever happens outside of you, the external factors, really you have no control over them. So that is something that you also need to keep in mind. And just get closer to Allah, have that closer relationship to Allah, and find some resources around the community and be able to tap into them when you need them. So that's what I would offer there, just from a self-compassion perspective.
Yes, and I was thinking it is very important that if you are the only caretaker, that you take care of yourself. because there is very often we see the caretaker burnout, whether it could be a single parent or it can be the only child taking care of the elderly parent. So make sure that you delegate the work, take the help, either if you're financially, you can do that, hire somebody to help you out, or take the help of of any family or friends or community when you need a break, because if you do not do that, you will not be able to take care of anybody. So it is important that when you think that you're getting exhausted, time to back off, delegate, ask for help, and take care of yourself. To spend time doing whatever you like to do, so you can refresh and be there for the child or for the parent to provide the care.
Those are some excellent suggestions, as well as making sure to take care of yourself if you're caring for other people. Alhamdulillah, some truly remarkable suggestions and ideas here. Next up, we have a question from Brother Munib Sayed out in Burlington, Alhamdulillah. He asks, with hospitals restricting visitors for patients, how would we support our Muslim brothers and sisters that are in the hospital and not allowed to have any visitors? And they might be facing depression and loneliness. And this might be going forward in the event that a Muslim brother or sister is diagnosed with this terrible virus and disease. How could we then take care of them while they're in the hospital? And before our beloved guests answer, this might guide it. Brother Adam Jinrola recommends for our brothers and sisters who are in the hospitals to reach out to fellow Muslims who work in the hospitals to help visit them. But is there any other guidance that Dr. Maroof, Sister Amal, or Imam AbuTaleb would like to add to that?
I think it is important, because if you're restricted from visitations, we should respect that. And if that person is if they are in isolation or quarantine anyway, we cannot go there. But I think can we communicate on video or other means of communication? But if you are restricted from, I don't think you should visit the. That is sad. You can pray from wherever you are, but you have to follow the guidelines and the rules and regulations of hospital. And talk to them, call them, and communicate that way from distance. But I don't think if you cannot go, we cannot go. And always keep in touch with them. That's what we are doing, even with social distancing and this isolation time. We are actually not isolated, because we are still able to communicate with others.
Yeah, and I would just add the dua. You just make dua for them. That's the best gift that you can give them.
This is very true. Both maintaining the distance that we need to maintain, that staying clear of the healthcare recommendations, but also making dua. Dua is a wonderful gift in lieu of flowers and chocolates and everything we might take to the hospital. Making dua for someone's very beneficial. Now, I think that wraps up all the questions I saw on YouTube and anywhere else. But as mentioned, we'll be doing this every Monday, same time, same place. We might be changing up our mental health professionals. I might be changing up the style here just so it's a little different. But inshallah, every Monday from here until the end of this pandemic, you can join us right here on YouTube and have some of your questions answered about anxiety and depression or other mental health concerns you might have regarding this. In the future, we might discuss things such as substance abuse or domestic issues, other issues that our mental health professionals feel there's a need for, but that all relies on our community suggestions. So please let us know via our Facebook pages, via Instagram, via the Masjid websites, via, is it health@islam1.org? health@islam1.org. Write to us and let us know about what some of your concerns are so that we can better engage and better tailor our care to our audience. Before I kick it to Imam AbuTaleb to close us in a final dua, I'm going to show everyone something we just worked on, and that is a schedule. we now have a schedule of events of what's going to be coming up in the coming months. Unfortunately, our guests can't see this, and I blocked out all of them. I apologize. So on Mondays, we have Mental Health Mondays. Tuesdays will be Imam Muammar delivering a khatira and his popular Salah workshop. Wednesdays will be a guest speaker. This week we have someone from the Muslim Family Center up in Maryland, delivering some familial suggestions from up there. Thursday is community nights, and this is a night driven exclusively by you, our audience. If you have any suggestions, any ideas for topics, anything you want us to discuss, this is the day we'll bring you on. We'll have a Q&A. In fact, this Thursday, we're going to focus on some mental health professionals, no, not mental health, physical health professionals. We have 3 ER physicians joining us from around Wake County to discuss the coronavirus and its effects in Raleigh. And then on Fridays is Quran night, much like this past Friday night. We'll have all 3 imams on. One will do the recitation, one will do the tafsir, and then one will do the translation of the Holy Quran. Akin to what we actually do and I are doing on normal Friday night programs. And then on Saturdays will be family nights. This kind of goes to one of the suggestions that a lot of our audience had, and I think Sister Amal and Sister Shaida recommended, was reading to children and making them feel accepted and welcome and guiding them through this time. So there might be some crafts this time, other fun activities. We noticed on Instagram someone tagged us in a push-up competition. I'm not sure exactly who you want to do that, because I'm definitely not engaging in a push-up competition. Imam AbuTaleb, do you want to do this push-up competition for us?
Sounds a little intense.
It's 10 push-ups. And then on Sunday nights, we will have a special khatira delivered by Imam AbuTaleb himself. Yesterday we had the story of Isra and Miraj, and then in coming weeks we'll use this as a time to prepare for Ramadan. Not just Ramadan in a lens of coronavirus, but Ramadan as a whole. Ways we can increase our qiyam at home, increase our best practices for reciting the Quran, and some other resources available to us as far as entering Ramadan the best we can be and exiting with the right tools to continue these blessed rituals all year long. So inshallah, Imam AbuTaleb, would you mind closing us with a final dua? And before that, if any of our guest speakers have any final suggestions or comments to add, I'd love to hear that. And then Imam AbuTaleb. Sister Amal?
So Jazakumullah khair. This has been great to be here with you, and just reach out to the community here, reach out to the sport, reach out to the health community that we have. If you have any questions, if you have any suggestions or are not so sure of any specific resources, we have the Hope Sisters group that all Muslim women meet together on a monthly basis, and we have sessions and we discuss different topics and have different activities. So that might be another place for them to engage, and we have taken that to be virtual now. So yeah, just better together. This is all that we can be, and just stick it out. So inshallah, may Allah bring all the best for everyone.
Alhamdulillah. Now, Sister Amal, how would one join that Hope Sisters group?
The Hope Sisters group, that would be through the health community information as well, the IR health community. They can go there to join that. And I think you mentioned I can't recall what that was, the health community email address or website for that.
Right, so if you go to raleighmasjid.org/health, you'll be able to access a lot of this information, as well as emailing in to health@raleighmasjid.org. Either you can go virtually or you can email us. I think Imam AbuTaleb had something to add to that. Okay.
That's right. That's all I was going to say.
All these nights together, man, I'm learning your script now. Sister Shaida, Dr. Shaida, Maruf, anything to add?
Yeah, anything, just I want everybody to stay safe and Don't get to, I mean, little bit of anxiety, some depression, some frustration, some irritability. It is normal with all the stress we are going through. Don't worry. Don't get overwhelmed, but take one day at a time.
I think that's some great advice. One day at a time. And that's a great way to think about things. Staying true to a routine that we would have followed before this and taking each day as it comes. Each day is a new adventure and a new blessing. Imam AbuTaleb, would you mind closing off in a final dua?
Jazakumullah khairan. Great to be with all of you tonight. And on behalf of our whole community, I want to express our appreciation once again, Dr. Shahida, Sister Ahmed. We're so appreciative of you sharing this time and expertise. We ask Allah to reward you and your families for all you do for our community, inshallah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. Jazakumullah khairan, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow, inshallah, 8 o'clock. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.